Solomon was providing nuggets of wisdom that I believe every single human being needs to grasp, because it's going to affect some part of your life. And one thing I love about the Proverbs is that they're so real and practical. We're actually taking the time to go through this first chapter of Proverbs and look at what Solomon was actually dealing with and what he was talking to us about and how it affects our lives in very specific ways. But it's hard to trust when in the back of your mind you're convinced he could have changed or prevented the circumstance. It's hard to trust because riddles can paralyze you with fear and insecurity about your future. You can get to the point where you will blatantly disobey God because you're not too sure of what he may allow you to go through. I've got to share with you, back in February of 2002, my wife and I went on a missions journey to Monrovia, Liberia in West Africa. We went there to be a part of what was called the Liberia for Jesus Prayer Crusade. I didn't really want to go, and definitely didn't want my wife to go, because listen carefully. This was February 2002. September 11, 2001. So now you're just talking about October, November, December, January. 5 months later, we're going to fly overseas. Already still got warnings from the State Department that Americans should not be traveling. They hadn't found bin Laden. They hadn't even gone after him yet. We didn't know what may happen. This is a very serious thing to be talking about, traveling outside of the United States. And even though we went at the request of my bishop and my bishop's bishop, he established several churches there and he wanted us to come. They were hosting this crusade, a national crusade. Really, it was a prayer crusade. Unlike what happens in America, it wasn't about a whole bunch of preachers coming in and speaking and collecting offerings. That's very different when you go to the other side of the world and they say crusade. It was literally 24 hours a day of prayer. We came in on Friday evening, like 8 o'clock at night, and they were still going strong. And then 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And all of this was outdoor in a soccer stadium. Hard benches, bleachers, cement. And people crying out to God, laying across on cement, stretched out on the ground everywhere, prayer. So when you say crusade in this situation, that don't mean you're going to come and preach and raise an offering and leave. No, this was their own prayer crusade for their nation. Their nation had been in civil war for several years, and they were coming out of the midst of the civil war. In fact, there was still fighting going on just a few miles outside of the city from where we were. So, of course, I'm like, well, God. I'm like, okay, we just went through the devastation of September 11. Now here's my bishop's bishop wants us to come to Africa, which means we got to fly through Europe, because that was the way you do. We had to fly from St. Louis to Detroit, from Detroit, I believe it was to Paris, and then flow down into Africa. And it was a horrible trip getting there, harassed every step of the way. People hate Americans. You're not loved when you leave this soil. It's a very harassing trip, very difficult trip just to get there. But when we got there, let me back up though. I gotta tell you, when we got there, I'll never forget, this one lady walked up to me and my wife, elderly woman, just crying, "Thank you for coming here, thank you. Thank you for coming." They would introduce people to, these are the missionaries that came to pray for us. That's how they introduced us. So, kind of humbles you, like, I ain't even want to come here because I'm scared of what bin Laden gonna do and if we're gonna have another attack. But here's the rest of it. I was like, see, God, I don't know what you're gonna do. See, that's what happens when you have disappointments and devastation and it's hard to trust, because I was thinking such things as, well, see, Lord, I know you. You let me get killed or Carol get killed, and the surviving spouse goes back to our home church, and they serve as the rally cry for our church to be involved in missions. Now, that's, y'all laughing, it's like, oh, so I'm not the only one who thinks like that. Huh? See, I know how you are, God. You let somebody get killed just so that we'll have a great missions ministry and we'll have a scholarship in the name of the person who died. I don't want to be that person. I don't want my wife to be that person. And that's because you just get to the point. I don't trust you, God, because I still ain't really got past the last devastation. I'm not really willing to step out and be no martyr. And I lost a brother. Our nation is in mourning. I'm not too sure I really want to do this. Missionary work and traveling and all that kind of stuff, it's not glamorous. Thank you, son. There's no glamour in it at all. It really is, okay, Lord, my life is on the line.